So welcome to the stream. Today I'm going to be fixing up some audio stuff. I'm more than likely going to be breaking some things, so before I do anything I'm going to do a submit on my source control. Just to make sure that everything's working okay. So I was working on some weather system stuff. And I'm just going to submit that. So the idea with today's stream is just to kind of record for myself the process I'm going through here in case kind of major bugs happen or anything like that. And for you guys, if you want to know some of the trouble that I ran into, I'll be uploading the video to YouTube afterwards so that I can kind of keep it there for others to see. So our submit, nothing left to submit. Right, so we're going to start a new change list. And this is going to be ambient audio blueprint. And we're going to check out the main file. Okay, so that should be us ready to go. So now if I make any mistakes, I can, I should be able to rectify them pretty much on the spot. So first of all, let's jump over to Unreal and we'll have a look at what's going on. So I have a lot of the blueprints I need open on a separate monitor, but for now let's go full screen. Cast of magic already. Okay, so what I'm going to let happen here is I'm going to let our weather system kick in. I want to kind of jump around and move about so that you guys can kind of see some of the trouble that is going to occur. So right now we have, I think it's 30 or 60 second intervals, we have a change in the weather, which is controlled by a random integer of 1 to 4. So fog is our int that's been set up. So you should notice that the fog, the exponential height fog, environment changes according to that. Now the fog isn't the problem. I have a particle system for rain attached to the as a component on the character controller, and if the character's moving around and jumping about, we get loss in frames. It's hard to know technically exactly what's going on, but I think it's when the particle systems update, they glitch out. So we should be coming up on another change. Probably see from the way I'm jumping around and doing things here that our controls for our character need a lot of work. We also have some clicking in our audio, so that could be one of the sound effect wave files not going out to 0, not ending on 0 decibels, and we get that click. So it's been over a minute now, so oh, here we go, rain. So the fog should clear somewhat and we should get some rain. Okay, I noticed there it's not playing our audio sound effect for rain. Okay, so that's what we've come in here to fix today, is the audio. So you may notice that all these fade out errors in my event graph have to do with, in one of my event graphs, has to do with the way we're controlling audio. Now, I had the audio for the weather inside this blueprint here. Weather machine blueprint, and the idea today is to move it out of that because it's something that's slightly more complex. I want to get it out of the main weather blueprint. So let's have a look at those blueprints. So the first one we're going to look at is our dynamic weather. So this is our guy here, weather machine. So I have it open here in a separate monitor. And I've discussed this in previous streams and previous videos, but we're doing event begin play. We're not using tick, we're using an event timer. You can see there that the random float between in the range of 40 to 60. Now that's only for testing purposes, so I'm going to change that now. So what we really want is something a bit more well, if our day and night cycle is 90 minutes equals 24 hours, then we want the weather to change at least 3 or 4 times, if not more, within that. So our day length is 90, so the float is seconds. So what we might do is trying to think of a good number. We could do 300. Maybe even that's not enough. What about 560? So that it would be in around 5 minutes. Yeah, we'll have 560 as the max. Or no, minimum 560 and 10 minutes, 600, 6,000? 6,000. We could always use our calculator. So okay, so let's say we want so yeah, 300. So it's going to be a random int in that. So it's not going to be. It's going to tail off the other side of the decimal as well. So you know, it's maybe we might even see if we can get away with using rather than a float there, we might use an int if we can in the future. It might give us some savings. I don't know, might not either. So 60. So we have 300 and I want, so yeah, maybe 600. So 5 and 10 minutes. I had 6,000 for 10 minutes. Brain isn't really working today. That was a bit of a brain fart. So we'll check out those files. I had them checked out before, but we'll check them out now again. And we hit save. So that's all we basically have to do in there, is just readjust the timers. And then I want to have a look at the audio portion of this. So it's going to be part of, it's probably going to be part of the systems. Do I handle audio in here? Oh yeah, so you can see we have this fade out on target. So they're the ones that are giving us all the errors because we don't know whether what audio is running. So we'll have a look at that again. So I'm just going to hit play. Oh, I'm on top of a rock. That's fine. So I'm just going to let it cycle through some audio. And now when I escape, I should get some errors. No, because the weather hasn't changed. Okay, let's do that again. Alright. So we're going to have to oh, wait. That was dumb of me. I have to wait 5 minutes for the audio to change. So I'm going to go back over to my weather system. And just going to hook up a new one here. I'm going to change that to 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Actually, 40. So let's compile and save that. That way now I can just delete the other one. So okay, let's see. Clicking on stuff. Let's see if it gives us that error again. So. I'm gonna jump around, make stuff happen. Come on, random float. Change the weather. Okay, fair. So that's fine. You should get a change in audio. Let's try it now if I escape. No, okay. So it's not going to give us that change. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start disconnecting rather than deleting some of these audio stuff. So weather audio, initial weather. Yeah, we're just going to disconnect it for now. Yeah, you can see this is an absolute mess. And even if it works, you know, 8-9 times out of 10, it's going to break our game eventually. So we're better off moving this stuff out. So yeah. So that's the audio stuff disconnected. I haven't deleted it yet because I want to kind of keep an eye on some of the stuff that's going on here. So the only alteration we need to make in here is this is where we cast and get our references for all the other blueprints. What I'm going to do in here is after we get a random integer, what we now need to do is have a corresponding integer, which I've named make it public. That would help. And basically we want to cast into this game instance and change our int here. So, and then we can use that in a new blueprint called audio jukebox, ambient audio jukebox, where we will at begin play we will get a reference to that variable and use that to drive our audio blueprint actor that we must drop into the scene. So I'm just going to quickly do that. I'm going to browse to my jukebox. I'm going to go to my top viewport, drag and drop my audio jukebox into the scene, and throw it down at the origin. Doesn't matter where it is, I just like to put everything at the origin because it's easy to find. You can tell all my other blueprint actors are in there, so compile, save, and let's get back to scripting. Okay, so after we get our after we get a random integer here, we need to do a cast before we do our branch that goes off to our weather system. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of space this out a bit better for myself. Space it out good. So I wouldn't mind this mission control variable. Basically, this is if we want to, literally, as it says on the tin, if we want to take over the dynamic weather with mission controlled weather. So if we're in a particular boss fight and we want to have rain and lightning, we can interrupt this weather system with our own weather, which I'll be working on later, which actually inversely will have a boolean in it in another event graph that will control the weather itself. But yeah, we're getting sidetracked. So current weather. So once we've current weather, we want to cast to game inst. So object instance. Get game instance, and I'm just going to compile in case I have any errors on that. Sometimes the object type, I mess it up and I get an error. So yeah. So the next thing we want to do then is inside our game instance, our variable is called int underscore ambient audio. So we want to set int underscore ambient audio, and okay, so there we go. And basically we're going to get the output of this and just plug it straight in here. I'm going to tidy things up with my double clickings. So I'm going to double click on stuff, drag them out. So now that's the only really change we got to do in here. So we don't really have to do much inside our main game instance either. But we know that our int ambient audio is going to be set from within the weather system. So one thing I want to do is get the current weather, and you may notice the current weather default value is 1, so that's fair weather. So it only makes sense that our int ambient audio, which is just it's not really an instance, but it behaves as such. So its default position should also be 1. I'm going to check out that last file. So okay, inside here, what we're going to be doing is something quite similar to here. We're going to cast to the game instance, but rather than set, we're going to do a get. So here we're going to do cast to game instance, object type game instance, get game instance, you can hit compile, again, I'm just checking because sometimes you can it can be easy to mess up your reference there, your object type. So here what we want to do is we want to get int ambient, and from here then what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the way we did the audio within here and try and literally, if we can, graft this into a separate blueprint. That'll allow us to debug it a little bit better. So you can see that as we go through the list, the more I believe this is, so we're in storm, so we're doing a lot of audio stuff here. It's not really that neat, it's going to cause us trouble. So we have 4 states of our weather. So what we want to do is we're going to do a couple of these branches. So if we're calling it current weather here, so we have a different name for it over there, but it's the same basic idea. So what we want to do is branch. So condition would be int equals int, or int equals to equal integer, that's the one. And so if our first condition is, actually I'm going to break that link and use, yeah, no, I'm not going to break that link. I'm going to do this the messy way for now. I can always clean this up again later. So equals to 1, and then CV that, and 2. So if it's false, it's going to fail down the list. So 3. And I'm just going to start trying to keep things as neat as I can as I go along. So if that's false, then it goes down to, it fails down. And finally, actually wait, delete that. That's a good idea. It's much neater that way. Okay, so you can kind of see our logic is splaying out in somewhat a good way. So yeah, so we're failing down. It's going to give us plenty of space here to work with these. Okay, so we actually need to maybe put this, because we're doing this on event begin play, it's only going to do it once, literally when we begin play. So we can either, we have 2 choices here. We can use a custom timer, or we could break things out and have an event dispatcher. So let's have a look at our weather system, and let's go back and have a look at our custom set event by timer. So it would be important to note that if we are going to use a set timer by event in our ambient audio jukebox, that it would have to have the same poll rate or timing as this guy. So what we might do in that case what we might do in that case is actually use an event dispatcher. So to change things up, right. Hmm. So we might replace this. Yeah, that's an idea. So if we're going to use an event dispatcher, I can keep this event begin play so that I still get my reference and I still get my to the int ambient audio, but I could create another integer in here that that is the same value. So it's getting kind of messy. We have 3 ints to do the job. So that's three variables that are going to be public. It might be an idea maybe to just update a variable in this blueprint. But the good thing about this is that because we're using the game instance, that regardless of any loading or stuff like that, we can store this fairly reliably. So it's nice to use the game instance to store your variables. It's easier to create your save files and things from there, so when the player loads up the game again, it has the same weather conditions as when they last played it. So what we may do is event begin play. I might just get my reference here and then have a custom event that fires our little tree of if branches here. So yeah, we're gonna break this. We're breaking it. I did warn people that this is probably going to break the game, but anyways, we'll give it a go. So what we need here is another variable. We're going to call this int. Anyways, is a great way to start naming things. So int ambient amb, and we're going to call it local. That could be a horrific name, but I'm going to go with it for now. Compile, save. Again, like the others, it has a default value of 1, and we're going to go and we're going to set it. Okay, so compile. Then we want a custom event, so custom event. And I'm going to call the custom event jukebox run. Okay, so and with jukebox run, these won't necessarily have to be spaced out quite as much. and I know the fact that I'm not using 0 in my integer and I'm using 1 to 4 rather than 0 to 3 is probably going to annoy a lot of people, but deal with it. It's kind of annoying me, to be honest with you, but I've done too much with it now. Okay. So our failing or falling tree is pretty much ready. So what we want to do then is inside here is fire our event. So I'm just going to go grab a cup of tea. When we come back, we'll have a look at firing these events with event dispatchers. I'll be doing some Googling and whatever resources I find, because it's been like a couple of weeks since I did this kind of event dispatching, so I'm going to have to quickly brush up on it. But when I come back, we'll do some Googling and we'll get on to it. But yeah, I mean, event dispatchers aren't that hard, it's just that I've kind of forgotten some of it. But we should be able to do it fine. Might have to look at the Unreal documentation. We have a lot of public variables there, but you know what? It's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. Oh, I'm just gonna select somewhere nice for us to spawn at. Okay, so before we go for a break, I'm just going to check, now that the audio system's been pulled out of the weather system, are we going to get any errors? We shouldn't. Of course we won't get the noise of the wind or the rain, but that's if it does actually choose rain. The reason for me just jumping around here and kind of inputting on the controller is just literally because our weather's particle system is attached to the player controller. I want to kind of make a guess. So fair. So we have no real change there. The random integer that selects the weather is inclusive, so if you have fair weather, you could get fair weather again. It's not necessarily going to be changing to rain and stuff. So the float should be changing for time soon enough. Okay, storm. So we can see our particle system started there. Yeah, so I definitely think some of our troubles were with those frames dropping wasn't actually particle systems kicking in, because the particle systems are GPU particle systems. They're using the GPU, so we're keeping them off the CPU thread. So what's happening is probably that audio. So we've broken our audio system but fixed our weather system. So I'm just going to go grab a quick cup of tea, and when I come back, we'll implement the audio in a way that doesn't break stuff. But we've diagnosed the problem, we've fixed the problem, and now we've got to just repair the features that we broke in the process. So cool guys, I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, so while I was making a cup of tea there, I had an idea. So back in our weather machine, I have two float values or ranges that I use, one in development and one at runtime. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a branch and use the function packaged. Is packaged for distribution? Do branch. So I wonder, this mightn't work, but we'll give it a go. So if it's packaged for distribution, we're going to use this set timer by event. This just makes sure that, you know, if I'm testing, I get to see the weather. I make a little block and put this in pink, bright pink, so I know it's development stuff. So if it's packaged for distribution, we're going to use this guy. If it isn't, we're going to do true, we use that, and if it's false, we're going to use that. So this is a very handy node. It means that when you hit build, sometimes your dev stuff, if you do a packaged build of the game for distribution, then it'll put out the right stuff. It can be handy. That's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a spidery mess. So what we're going to do is we are going to get the dev stuff on the faults line, drag it over here, drag it up here, and we're going to comment it. And we're going to call it dev timer. Dev timer. And so that we know that it is absolutely for development, we're going to make it a bright pink. It's always good in your graphs to have like the most garish color. I'm using it for particle systems over here. I'll probably change that to purple, but or something like that, another color. But bright pink kind of is a good way of showing that this is for development only. So okay, that was a little thing I thought of. Hopefully it doesn't break our poo, but it should be good. Right, so I need an event dispatcher. So begin play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my first person controller. Which shouldn't really be called first person controller because it has so much stuff in there. Okay, so you can see here I have a bind event on temperature low, and on stamina we have a stop sprinting event. which was done in C++ by my good friend Barney the Code Ninja. Big shout out to Barney the Code Ninja. So, okay. So this is called an event which is already in on temperature low event. So event graph. So on component. Okay, so it is actually set attack component reference. Find event on empty stamina. Okay. Right. So we'll go into our machine, or weather machine. And after we do all this print stuff, what we're going to do is we're going to bind. Unbind. Can it be bind to event on actor hit? Okay, so this is where our Googling is going to come in. So I'm going to bring up, I'm going to Google it and then I'll share the page on the other monitor. So, UE4, search terms, event dispatcher, cast. That seems like, okay, so we're going to RTFM. RTFM this. If Firefox plays ball. Okay, so we create the event dispatcher within the other one. Field that appears to end the list. My blueprint tab. By selecting event dispatcher in my blueprint pad, you can edit all properties in the details panel. You can set the tooltip. Click new button inputs section. Okay, so they always seem to use inputs as their thing, but that's okay. So we need event dispatchers. So we only need one event dispatcher. And we want to do it here before we change the weather. Yeah, we'll do it here. After our cast, we'll do all our stuff there. So the event dispatcher is going to be named what'll we name it? We'll go disp for dispatcher, disp jukebox. Does that make sense? I don't know. Cool. Okay, so we're going to have to go back over and actually see how we sign this up. So Okay, we need more documentations. Calling event dispatcher. Ah, maybe I have to, yeah. So this is going on. We need to go in here and, bind. That could be in play, bind. Okay, so we may have to cast. So yeah, we're gonna cast and see what happens. Cast to CGD weather machine. Oh, I'm gonna get an error. Yeah. Self. Get reference to self. That's not gonna work, is it? Wait, I just think. Oh, okay, maybe bind on the other side. We'll try binding over here. Really are shooting in the dark. So it's not going to connect it to anything. Bind. Okay, so really do want to do this using event dispatchers. Gonna try UE4 event dispatchers and boat. Maybe it isn't bind, maybe it's a sign. I thought of that, a sign. Ooh, no. It's the simple way. I don't want to assign it to that one, I want to assign it to... Okay, so... Here's my castings. Yeah, we're gonna have to do an event, get all actors of class cast. Like this one. Yeah, so let's do that. Get all actors of class, and we want jukebox. Get a copy. And from that copy we want to get event. Okay, so maybe press inputs damage. Let's go deeper down the rabbit hole here. Okay. Get that. We want to call. And the target is ambient jukebox. Actually, no. I had it right there, so I have to create a reference to ambient jukebox. So cast or get all actors of class. All actors of class. Jukebox. Get the current instance, get copy, and then we need a promote to variable, and we need to call this jukebox ref. Jukebox ref, and plug all that up. Don't break. It might break. It usually breaks. Black crap. Oakley dokley. So we got absolutely no crashings, which is nice. Always helpful. So now, oh, and I totally jukebox reference. Okay, file save. So now, I need my target. Get. Okay. Target is not self. Assign. No, assign is bold. Cannot choose it. Call. Why don't you want to work? So call bind. No. Call. Let's just see. Get a reference. See what we can do. Call. Jukebox run. Yay! No fail. Okay. So we're calling jukebox run. Good stuff. First person, go away. We don't need you. Game instance, hang around. We might need you. So okay, we're calling jukebox run. And it's the right side of our crazy float. Okay, so I need to start cleaning this up just a small bit. Maybe that should be on the bottom. Yeah, that looks better. For branch back. Get our condition in the right place. Graphs are getting crazy. Okay, so compile, save, keep my OCD happy. Dev only. Okay guys, that should be us. So what we need to do now is okay, there are errors were left from my craziness here. Okay, so we're reading the end. Our other weather machine is calling jukebox run. So now what we need to do is set up the true. So we have the fail table, or the fail tree, the falling failings. And what we need to do now is set up so it'll actually play the music. But before we do that, just in case that this craziness that we've done here, well, it's not really craziness, but just in case there's a problem with our run, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it to play any old music. So actually I might just get it to print text. That would print text. So jump over here and just see. So our trues are pointing up, so give it an obnoxious color so that we can see it. Actually, this is an audio test, so we'll use audio. Screw it. Play sound. Play sound 2D. Oh god. Okay, we're just going to use buff or something. Use buff noises, I guess. Okay, no, we're going to get a sound effect. Content. Audio. Magic spells. Combat. Go for a Q. That'll do. Playing that sound effect. Okay, so it's basically going to play that for them all, but I'll know it'll work. Actually, no, we'll use a separate note. This should be funny now. We're going to get like that beat down sound effect every time the weather changes. It's going to be hilarious. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here. Just going to close all those for a second. Yeah, you guys are going to be able to hear that too. So, okay. Control S. See what happens. Oh, build data. You shouldn't even be in source control. Doesn't matter. See if it works. wonder, is it going to work? Oh, it's working. Did you hear that? That's kind of funny. So we can play audio. So we've got the basic implementation down. Our fog is moving in. We got that little silly punch sound effect. So we know it's working. What needs... Whoa, we have a lot of fog. But that's kind of the idea. What we need to do is... we'll let it go into another cycle. So the set timer event, by event, we'll let that go around again. I didn't want to use another set timer by event or a tick. Oh, cool! We got another sound effect. So we should have fair weather. Is that fog lifting? It is, kinda. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we have fair weather. I just think that's hilarious. I want to hear that punch sound once more. So silly and stupid. So, yeah. You can see there that because it's an inclusive random integer for the weather, that we got fair again. We heard the punch noise, but it just stayed at fair, so. I could go through a complicated process of setting up other random int calls that, you know, so that it means that it'll only do maybe an inclusive twice and then skip to an inclusive one. But I'm not gonna do... Oh, there we go, storm. So, whoa! Our clouds are moving way too fast. And our rain has started. I'm really gonna have to do something about that. But that's more of tweaking values and stuff. It's not actually that big of a deal. And the more complexity I can strip away from the dynamic weather, the easier it's going to be to work with all this kind of stuff. So, okay, that was funny and it works, and we're happy enough with it. So, how about we get into the messy business of actually refining our jukebox component now, or jukebox blueprint rather. I think it's in our audio, yeah. We're actually going to go in here now and start adding a bit more complexity to the audio. Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, what I'll do is I'll talk through basically how we're going to set it up so that our audio here is a little more refined, a little bit more intelligent, that it'll be able to fade stuff in and fade stuff out without giving us all those errors, or at least now, because it's in its own blueprint, excuse me, we should be able to handle that stuff a lot more discreetly. thirsty work, this game design. So, let's get back to it. So we had a setup that was playing our funny punch noise, and now what we have to do is in our jukebox is clean this up so that we are playing the right audios. So one way of doing this would be just to literally come in here and do as we did before inside the other event graph and just have it play this one and then tell it turn all these off. But the problem is, if this int doesn't equal any of the ones below and we're telling it to turn stuff off, it's only going to turn it off if it's not if it's playing, and if it isn't playing, it's going to throw us an error. That mightn't be a game breaker, but I don't want to do that. What I'd like to have is it playing, have a system where it fades between the audio. So what we're going to do is audio, and we're going to have it mixing. So we're going to come up with an audio mix, and in that mix will be all our sounds. So we're going to RTFM, we're going to go in and just see what they have. So ambient sound, actor uses guide, audio files, sound attenuation, not really interested in that right now, and sound cues. Wait, we just see if we can find something a bit better. So, UE4 sound cue variable. Sound cue switch node. I think we found a winner, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Okay. Okay, so they're using randoms. I don't want randoms. Oh no, I got a 4-4. Forums sometimes forums can sometimes lead to dead ends where you just, there's nothing worse than opening up a forum and finding like loads of people just arguing and disagreeing, and it's very hard to get to the bottom of it. So We're going to call this the CGD ambient queue. Or no, we're going to call it jukebox queue because that might. And mark it for add in our source control. Oop, it's going to open it. Okay. So. Okay, so we can do our trues and our falses and all that in here. So we might be able to clean up a hell of a lot inside our dude here. So, yeah, we might be able to get rid of, see all these branches with the ifs. Well, they're kind of like if statements, but yeah, we may be able to get rid of all this and just have it play the queue, and then within the queue have our parameters in here, and that might be it. That's probably the way it was intended to do, or something close to the way it was intended. Again, I'm going to break stuff today. It's part of the plan. That's why I submitted to source control at the start, so that I could always easily go back. And with that said, actually, everything seems to be working now, and I haven't broken too much. We're getting no errors like we were earlier. So, I'm going to do another submit. I am actually going to close everything. We have some stuff that may be superfluous here marked for add, but that's okay. There's some stuff in our default. I want that to move that to the right change list. So all goes to ambient audio. There'll probably be crap coming in from other stuff. Oh, AVG, no one likes you, go away. So ambient audio blueprint stuff and errors out, features whip. So submit. Submit, damn you. So the level map is going to be by far the largest file. The rest should just pretty much instantly get added to source control. I can check Twitter. Okay, so source control is done. Right, we're going to check you out again. We don't really need to check it out, we're just going to open it. So we're going to fire up Unreal again, and now if I do really break stuff, I can just revert all my checked out files. Oh, I'm going to have to log into the server one of these days and have a look and see how big the branches are getting. Should be fine though. Okay, so we're back. So I'm going to check out these two guys. One thing I'm going to have to learn during the process of this is can I put so I need to create a new sound class to start with. So new, a new mix and a new class. So the new class is where's audio? Sound. Okay. So new sound class, and the sound class is going to be called CGD, and it's going to be I guess weather. CGD weather. Sound mix. And I should put class at the end of that. So it's not the best naming convention, but damn it, it's the one I started with, so we gotta keep it going. And we're going to call this CGD weather mix. Okay, and mark you for add as well. So in my I think it was where magic spells. Okay, casting ambient. These cues, we'll use the cues. You can point to a cue or a wave. I'm going to be 100% honest. So fireplace, no crickets. We're not going to be using crickets, but you know what? These are all ambient sounds, so it only makes sense that they should go into the appropriate audio. Email, effects, and is there any here? Windshield, click all over magic. B. Audio tracks. Back in here, Artcast. No, they're all my they're all my own ones. What's that one? Oh, that's the attenuation file. No, what I'm looking for is in case I have any audio files that I season myself. Tracks, they're just, they're actual audio tracks. Narrative, magic spells. No. Okay, so it's all these guys. And what we want to do is highlight our weather class. Oh, well, first we've got to open the mix and add the sound class. And save that bad boy. Okay, so that's done. And now we need to assign I think these are fairly empty and blank. Yeah, they are. They don't need to be particularly any other way. Okay, so weather class. Very cool. They're out of the get selected. It's gonna do that for all of them. I'm actually gonna browse to all of them and check them all out. Source. Check out. So I'll get rid of that. Wait. There we go. Okay, so all our ambient audio there is now part of the weather class. Okay. It's pretty good. So that's the easy bit, believe it or not. So what we now is we need to connect up our audio. So I'm just going to check out one of my other cues. Let's see if that works. Narrative. gonna need one of those. Not gonna bother checking it out. Okay, so we've checked out this guy, but not the one I was looking at. So we need a modulator. Just cause. Pitch minimum 1 and 1. Volume 1 and 1. Can tweak this again, maybe use different modulators for different sound, but that's fine. So output, and this is going straight here. So, DOQ. Okay, some guy had the exact same. Dun dun dun. Oh, they're using event tick, some of these guys here. Because you guys aren't seeing it on the other monitor, I'll bring it across. So, I'm using an actor. They're using like, it seems that the solution could be a component. Let's view this. Okay, pitch control. Terps. Okay, no, that's not really what I was looking for. Have a look. It's linked to the same thing. Those links point in the same place. Oh, seems like a lot of people are using C++ for this, and I can see why. Okay. Yep. Looks like I have to do it through a component. Switch node selects an input node based on a value of an integer parameter. Okay. Not really what I was looking for. So branch isn't going to do it. Let's look at a switch. Okay, so no. See, this is one of the things about having a procedurally generated audio, or not procedurally generated audio, but a dynamic weather system. That your audio has to be just as dynamic. You see, this is just a mess of random nodes just scattered for the moment. Go to my ambient sounds, grab my... Ugh. Scared the crap out of me. Okay, so we need wind. And rain. Okay, what's going on? Add? Damn. I had you fucking. Okay, we're going to come out of the queue and go back to our actor and see if we can perhaps implement something similar there. So case, I'm going to use the fail tree again. Check out. So play sound 2D. Weather. This cue. Player jukebox cue. Okay, so in our jukebox cue, we need our Okay, I'm going to cheat. In order to fix this, I'm going to cheat. Just to see if I can get it working. And chances are I'm going to reintroduce some of the errors that I created for myself the last time I did it. But we're cheating. So I want you. Wait. Do I even get those references? Storm rain. I would normally do this, but considering I'm source control, I'm going to take advantage of the fact, and I'm going to break stuff, because just how I roll. Don't need that. Okay, this should be fog here, so yeah, we're still playing the punch sounds. Screw it. I can clean that up again. Okay, so the VARs are all there for them. Jukebox run. And we're using the fail tree, which is kind of a bit of a pain in the ass. It's not as efficient as the other way I was thinking of doing it, but I'm going to have to do my homework on that and make sure that I'm actually doing it right, because it means that rather than using the I'm going to have to use a component rather than an audio component, rather than, you know, like, yeah, I'm going to have to use a audio component in my actor. So pain in the ass, but anyways, delete that for now. Graph, compile, save. The moment of truth. Will it break? It's probably going to break. It could be a soft crash break. It could be just some errors. We'll find out. So we're just going to hang around here, wait for our weather to change and see what happens. I don't know, I'm not really expecting anything spectacular. I think it'll just break the way it did before. Trying to fade out stuff that hasn't been played, doing things that haven't been done yet, which should be, you know, shouldn't be a game breaker, because you're asking. Okay, so it changed weather. But it didn't play our punch sound effect. Okay. Yeah, there's the errors again while playing in editor. So let's have a look. Error fade out. So open that up. So it failed on the first one, because none of those things, oh excuse me, were playing. So yeah, I'm gonna delete that whole mess. I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna delete that. Put back in our punch sound effect. We may add an audio component to this actor, which will require me to do my homework, do some research. That's fine, so we're just going to play. And we'll see what happens now. Should get that punch sound again. So just for sanity's sake, I did have all those in being the same sound effect, so I'm going to change that real quick to our jukebox, and we're going to basically find that file, browse to it. That's a good one. So you're being changed to that. This guy hit. That'll do. I'm just using any old sound effects right now. That'll do. So we have unique sounds for all. And now I'll full screen that and play. So what I'm looking out for now is the same thing. I just wanted to play a sound effect. On my second monitor at the moment I'm watching the graph simulating, so I'll be able to see what branch it fires off down. The fail tree. Okay, so it's gone with storm. Please play a different sound effect in the next cycle. Ah, gentlemen, gentlemen, gentlemen. I think I know what's going wrong. So I'm going to browse to that, and I need the weather system. Bet you some of my haha. So current weather, a game instance. Okay, so yeah, like a schmuck, some of my some of those integers that pass the pass around the value of the current weather are private. They need to be public. Okay, right. So that's done. Always forget that. Such a doofus. So it was always going to play the first sound effect. It was never going to. It has a default value of 1, so it was always going to play 1. It was never being changed. And I just want to have a quick look inside our weather system again, because there's something else I suspect that's going on. So we have our timer. So in our timer we're getting current weather, cast to the game instance, and we're setting that. And over in yeah. So this variable inside, even though we're updating the one on the fly in the game instance, we're not actually updating this one. It's only doing it the first time, so it'll always be 1. So what we really need to do here is set timer by event. Set timer by event. 60. 12. Looping. Break. Custom event. Update. Jukebox. Plug that in. Okay, well, break. So that makes more sense. So, because the last time around we were only doing it at event begin play. So at begin play it would set the variable, but it wouldn't set it thereafter. So we've got to keep a lookout for when that variable changes. So by setting up the set timer by event, that'll do it first. So every 12 seconds. So the weather changes every 30. Design. So yeah, every 15. So that way we know that we're checking, we're polling for a change. Ooh, or we could do something very smart. Yeah. Ooh, I never thought of that. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this away. Bada bing, bada boom. And does this make sense? I think it does. Yeah, we're going to leave that the way it was. So we're getting the... Oh no. Yeah. Screw it, it was fine the way it was. If it works that way, I think I might even have another smarter way of doing it, but we'll see. We'll test it out. There's no point in procrastinating now. So, I'm just going to drag that onto my other monitor. Yeah. Yeah, but my basic idea there was that we have jukebox run and for the weather, so when our weather changes, we're calling jukebox run here in our weather system. So change our audio for our weather. So the idea would be that we update on that event. And I could get rid of all this then. And I wouldn't have a timer or anything on tick. Let's try it. See what happens. I could break everything now. It's okay. We have source control. It's overcomplicating things. So okay, file save. It doesn't really matter because a lot of this is going to have to be changed anyways, because we have to create an audio component to control what we were planning on using here. Bunch of branches, if statements, if you will. Okay, so we'll see, is this going to break the game? So we just have to hang around for 30 seconds or so to see if the weather changes. And once the weather changes, we'll play our silly sound effect. Yay, it played the sound effect. That was the punch sound which we had for fair. So we'll leave it, we'll see if it'll play, if the weather will change. Again, it's inclusive, so it could pick the same weather. Mightn't necessarily go to storm or fog. I prefer for it to be exclusive just while I'm testing it. that would be more logic that I'm not too lazy to do. Okay, so there, you heard that silly sound effect, the kind of swish. That means we're moving into a storm. So our rain should start. Our cloud speed should change. Yeah, our exponential height fog has changed and our rain is in. Yeah, and our clouds are now moving too fast, but they're moving. That's the main thing. I've yet to add the lightning and stuff, but it played our silly sound, so we know it works. We are updating our thing here, so we can just get rid of this. For now, I may just leave this in. But I'm just going to run, grab a drink, and come back, and then when we get back, we'll work on adding the audio component. So yeah, I've just added it there. I won't name it. We'll bring up some documentation for that. Figure out exactly how we can drive the audio a bit smarter. Actually, now that I'm there, my level isn't loaded in. Okay, just load that quick. That shall do. Check out those files. Okay, so what I might actually do, it might be a smart idea to do submit now, since we're getting no errors. So I'm gonna quickly save all. Jump over to Perforce, submit everything, and reopen the project. But yeah, while I do that, I may as well go on a quick break. Okay, everything is up on source control now, so let's fire up the main project again. Really start breaking things now. Okay, so the challenge now is going to be to get our I'm just going to fire up our jukebox blueprint on this mess of a queue. It's really started. Yeah, so I may as well check those guys out. Okay, so oh, that's cool. I can add different pins. So the idea being here that we should be able to pass a different parameter to each. That's the wrong pin, but yeah, we should be able to pass so from here we should be able to pass a parameter into our sound cue. So if I goes to this, grab cue, plug it in, let's give it out to me, check out files. Yeah, the idea being that we call a parameter change based on the based on what we're doing here. We're getting the current weather and to get rid of those silly sound effects first of all. So if it's true on 1, then in our cue, I'm just going to take a look at one of my other sound cues. So okay, yeah. So for the first one, it's going to be our rain. So it's probably in the right folder already, but anyways. And we want rain. Rain loop 1. I have way too many windows open. Thanks for the follow, Commander Root. So back in here, oh, that's looping, it's doing my head in. We want rain. Okay. So we're not really worried about attenuation because the attenuation is we're kind of using the play sound 2D kind of system because rain is all around you. So unless you go inside, maybe, but you can worry about that again. So running the jukebox. I guess we've got to kind of initialize this first. Now, fingers crossed, when we hit play here, it should play our rainy sound effect. Oh, and I'll fall out of the sky. Are we simulating? We are. Now, regardless of what weather comes, we should get a rain sound effect. Hopefully. And if we can get it to play one, we'll set it up to play them all. And then we can control the volume of the 4 different tracks by passing stuff into the audio component. Okay. See if we can break it. Try and break it. Okay. No, absolutely nothing. Alright, fair enough. So I think it's in here. Yeah. Oh, it's set to none. Typical. Typical thing to do. Rain loop, please. Save. You know what, I'm gonna fill all the... Helps to have the actual input set. Anyways, so I'm just gonna fill up all these parameters. We'll try it again. Should work though. F11. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm jumping around here and kind of just doing silly stuff so that if anything goes wrong during when the weather system's changing, that if we drop frames or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw inputs at it till it gives us an error of some kind.
Yeah.
You're able to fire while in mid-air and float. That's we won't worry about that. Yeah, rain. Come on, play rain.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That didn't work. Anyways. It's the switch node. I don't need the switch node. We'll use a mixer. That should do it. Okay. Aha! Rain!
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So what we're going to do now is go back to this guy, and we're going to add some more inputs. So we have rain, and the other one we want to control is wind. So there we go. So want a wave player, and we want to set that one to wind. And so we've got our second one here. We're going to get another wave player because there's probably going to be another audio to be added at some stage. So just going to plug them all in for now. And it's looping. And we're going to save that. Okay, I know it's going to work, but I'm just going to try it anyways. Yeah. So we've got the wind and the rain playing. But they shouldn't be playing right now, so that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to go in and try and pass parameters from this guy to the component, to the audio component here, which is just called audio, which is a bad name. We should really give it something. So we're going to jukebox Q. It's not a great name, it'll do. And I guess drag it. Can we do a set? Audio components. Okay, so we have some stuff in here. Set wave parameter. In name. Okay, so this is going to be like your bones or in wave asset. We see. Okay. So we got to give these names, do we? Probably have to give those names. Yeah, I think we will. We'll have to set names. Okay, there. Parameter name. Excellent. Just looking through these guys. Do we still need to use a switch? No. Call these para rain. Again, probably not the best naming convention in the world, but it'll do. Para wind. I might actually get rid of that pin just for now. We can, once we get it working. No, it's fine. It's a 0 pin. It's fine. Para wind. Maybe this is oversimplifying it. Maybe it's a bit more complex than this, but we'll try it. So, so this variable by default is 1, and our default weather condition is fair. So what we want to do is set wave parameter, and it has to be the same name as this guy. So para rain. Para rain. Go to our audio section. Yeah, that's probably it. Set volume multiplier. I don't actually need set wave parameter. Oh, I do. Yeah. Okay. Get. So our second condition is rain. So we can actually try that at 0.5, and then for our storm, we're going to try setting it to like 1.2. And then again down here, we're gonna, this is fog. So fog, no wind, no rain, same as fair. I could also maybe so I might have to come up with two versions of this, but we'll see. Hopefully it works. Damn you. Okay. So by default it's playing the sound. That's fine. We can fix that. So actually I'll do that now because that way it'll be easier to see our changes. So what we're going to do there is event begin play. So in event begin play we're just going to do this. Move that off there, and we're going to take the fair weather and we're going to try that. So alright, let's give this a go. Now I could change the interval, the random float value that's used to change weather conditions. Excuse me, but I have it at like between 30 and 60 seconds I think right now, and if I were to change it, it would upset. If I was to change it less than that, it would just cause some trouble and I'd have to change other variables. So even though we kind of have to wait around 30 or 60 seconds to see the change, I'm kind of going to leave it. It uses timelines, so that's one of the reasons why I don't want to have to change it. So again, it's inclusive, so it's picked fair. It could pick fair again, so we'll see. Okay, it selected rain and our audio came on. Now it's suddenly on. It's kind of like it doesn't fade in, it's just kind of on or off at the moment. But take the win. Here's the moment of truth though. When I hit escape, is there going to be errors? No errors. So that works. Somewhat. I'm pretty happy with that so far. So let's go back in and see if we can make this a bit smarter, because it's very dumb at the moment. I mean, it's just altering this guy here, jukebox Q, which is just one. So like if I wanted, I'd actually have to have a Q for each so one for each weather condition, because later on in the storm queue we're going to have lightning and other kind of events that are need to be triggered off the effect. So just to bear that in mind. Also, what I could do is do a linear lerp basically on the new value. So let's see, lerp. So what I need to do there is do a get. I do a get. I'm not going to actually going to use that. Get modulation max. Audio, adjust set volume. Multiplier, adjust. Yeah, so I'm going to have to come up with one of these cues for each separate bit of audio, but that's okay. And so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to get the max, I guess, modulation. As long as in the modulation I have them all set to 1, then it should be fine. Yeah, so I'm going to get the current modulation. This is for fair weather, so in this one I'm going to lerp from A to B, so whatever the current one is to 0. So that's if it's set there. So what I'm going to do now is just going to quickly go down through these and delete them because we no longer need them. We have a smarter kind of a system going here with our lerp. Now the alpha for this, it's like our ramp, our delta. I'm just going to try a 600 and see what happens. It's probably not a good delta. We probably want to get a delta from a timeline maybe. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so for rain we're going to go for 0.5 in the lerp, and in storm we're going to go for multiplier 1, so it should lerp up to 1. And fog, then I'm just going to copy this again, so in the fog it should lerp the volume of that sound cue, which is just called jukebox now, but I'm going to have to change that obviously because it's not a very good naming convention. So back to 0. Now the only thing I'm worried about here is this alpha. I'm going to have to get a decent value for alpha. So we'll see. We might do this. A timeline might be the best way to do this. Add timeline. Oh. Yeah, we might do one timeline this side of the branch. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we get on with just the delta 600, and if that doesn't work we can always create a timeline and pull the delta off that. Be the best way to go. So Alt P, play in window. Okay. Okay, so fair. Okay, so that's the problem when you have an inclusive random integer. It can often pick the current one, because we only have 4 possibilities, so you know, chances are a bit more likely that it's with the inclusive random int, it's going to pick the one we don't want. I wouldn't mind, but there probably isn't much scripting to do to actually get it to pick have an exclusive integer, but it's probably just another branch statement or something. Okay, fog. It's nice to see that it changed, but it's not really that much good to us. So you can see the exponential fog is thickening. And that seems to change at a nice pace. There's still a lot of tweaking to do with the values within the actual weather machine blueprint, but we should get there in the end. Okay, yeah. So we're now in storm, so you can hear there that the audio pretty much came straight in. So that tells me that that our lerp isn't really working. It doesn't have that delta value isn't great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get a nice delta to plug into the alpha of the lerp. What we're going to do there is kind of had started before, so timeline. Break things, and this timeline, we're going to call it delta weather, and we need a float value, and 6 seconds should be fine. So going to key to curve float 1 and time 0, value 0, and then we only need one more add key times 6 and value. I'm just going to set it for 1 now so I can frame it up. So there's our curve, our back of a curve, and I want to go back over here and to our event graph, and I want to see exactly. So we're lerping in who. So we're going through the decimals. So that's like 0.5, 1, and 0. So for want of a better term, this kind of magnitude here. So 1 over 6 seconds. Over 6 seconds. We'll try that. It mightn't work. We might have to change that kind of magnitude. There. Magnitude's probably the wrong word, but we could even I don't like the way it's actually. Yeah, okay, that's a bit, no, I'm going over the top there now, so grab that, put it in the alpha. I'm just kind of doing it messy for now, and I can always come back in and tidy it up again. So okay, that's very messy. Compile, save. Now F11, Alt P. Fingers crossed it gets we get a nice float value, something for a storm or something. Our random variables come up. Okay, fog. Like, there's no reason I couldn't add the audio sound effects for testing purposes into fog and fair weather conditions, but I want to see it working kind of now, in case there's any bugs. Okay, so okay, so it's gone to fair weather. Hopefully it doesn't go back to fog or fair weather on the next change. Okay, so you guys can't see it there on this screen, but I have the blueprint simulating on my second monitor, and it just, you know, it went off down the fair weather line again, so unfortunately. We're at the mercy of the random math function. 30 to 60 seconds. Again, I could change that so that it's randomizing at smaller intervals, but it would break the timelines in the weather machine blueprint. Plus, you never know, I could fall through the world or something. It'd be nice to find it out. So there we go. Our storm came in and our clouds are moving way too fast, but our storm music came in, but again, that's not what we wanted. So we were using a time of 6 seconds and a value of, I think it was 1. So if we go back into our delta weather, what we really need this delta to be is maybe... Well, what I might do is I might actually check out how I did it in the weather system. So if we go to the weather system, okay, yeah, that might be the best way to 0.01 file, save. And while I'm here, and I have the weather system open again, I'll just close that timeline. We're going to go over here and see if we can do a little fix. So, random float, random int. Okay, so package is package for distribution, branch is package for distribution true, false, branch so what we want here is int equals to current weather. So actually that could be the other way around, our branches. Drag this stuff over here for a sec. And so random integer and if it's false, if it's true, we just go on ahead and do as per normal. So we have an inclusive version and we'll do an exclusive here. So what we want there is want to go, okay, so is the current weather equal to current weather? So so we may need to introduce another variable to pull this off. So is random int equal to current int? So the random, if it's false, Okay, so that's a real messy solution, but that should stop our int from playing foul tricks on us. Again, I apologise to all the Puritans out there for not using 0 to 3 instead of 1 to 4. Just what happened, and I kind of am stuck with it now because I have implemented it in so many different places. Okay, that's why often I think sometimes it would be nice to find to edit your scripts in Notepad++ or something like that rather than visually, because you can just do a find and replace. But you know what, when it comes to passive optimization and things like that in the future, I can always do that. So, right, we might have an exclusive solution here for our random int in range. So let's see. Personally, I will take the win.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can see from that that our actual our patch to give us an exclusive integer worked. There's probably easier ways to do it and less messy ways to do it than the way I just did it there, but it worked. So with that said, we return back to our original problem here. Length. Okay, so that's completely wrong. That's probably what went wrong there. And value, I had the length set to 0.01. Okay, file save. So that's where our problem began, was with me setting the length of the graph, the timeline itself, to 0.01 instead of the value of the last key in the graph. So, okay. Silly mistakes, they happen.
Yeah.
It's okay. Hopefully, we have an exclusive integer. By that I mean it'll exclude the last value it had, and it'll only do that at design time. At runtime we should be fine. So patience is all we need now. Okay, we went straight to storm. Okay, so what could be going wrong here is that we're simply using the wrong kind of we're using a linear interpolation. We may need to use something slightly different, like an f-interp. So f-interp 2. So delta time, interp speed. So this is kind of, I think, probably more what we're looking for. So right, if we were to current time target, or is it f-interp 2 or f-interp? Interp constant. Wait, we just get that and we go interp. Should be in our math. v-interp, f-interp 2. F-interp 2, f-interp 2 constant. Interp 2 constant. Okay, so current. Delta times 6, speed 0.01. May be able to get rid of that. So rather than break the other interp value that's there, I'm just going to plug it into all these guys. In fact, I'm even going to make them all. Well, I'll have to make one of them. So yeah, so I say current, and target. So the target is where it changes. So rain, target, delta times 0.5 for rain, 1 for storm, and get that goes there, and target 0, target 1, target 5, target 0. Okay, we'll try those f-interps. Might be a bit more efficient than the ones we currently have. Or actually do the job. Okay, so now that it's exclusive, we're kind of being able to troubleshoot this a lot better. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to up delta time to something like 60, just or maybe 30, and I'm going to leave everything else the way it is. Should be fine. This is just like throwing numbers at a wall to see what kind of sticks. So we'll compile, save, into play. So hopefully now we'll get a smoother transition between the audio. No. So it comes pretty much in suddenly. Alright. So, let's have another look. We were trying out an F-interp 2. So we'll have a quick look in our okay. Maybe a constant. So we get the current. I wonder is it an idea to pull delta time from timeline. Let's see what happens if we do. And initial speed 0.001. Something tiny. Go lower in the float value, but let that. Try this. So, oh well, that's an old F-interp. So, just gonna copy this. This is going to get so messy, but anyways, it's fine. Target 1. Considering they all start off at 0 anyways, I'm just, for test purposes, I'm just going to set it all to 1. Yeah, this is going to look like an absolute spider's nest. Okay, so they're all 1. So no matter what weather kicks in, you're going to get rain and wind. That's okay. It's only for testing, we can always change values later. Right, full screen, Alt and P. So regardless of what weather we get, when the weather finally decides to change, we will get the audio. Okay. It's weird. Okay, so I did have it set up to do rain on fair, but it's weird. Why did it work on fair and not the others? Delta time, target 1, initial speed. Could be like anything else sometimes when you stay to things twice. Hey there guys. I am struggling a bit here with my lerping between one audio and another. Oh, okay, maybe that's it. So delta time on those two came from the timeline, and on the others it didn't. Yeah, so in an effort to keep everything the same, I'm going to try and plug in there. I'm good. I'm struggling a bit with the audio side of my dynamic weather. I have like some tweaking to do in the actual weather system itself, like my clouds during storms are moving way too fast and it's still not getting dark enough. But the functionality's there, it's just getting the audio to work. Yeah, it's not the easiest, but you know, it's not the worst either. I just had to kind of step back and think about it a bit. The weather machine blueprint is kind of the craziest. It has the most going on in it. So like I have 4 different weather conditions. Fair weather, rain, storm, and fog. And they're basically all the same controls, just been altered slightly. But as you can see here, I had some audio stuff going on, and that really was breaking things. It's my first time kind of tackling the weather system kind of stuff. In this project I'm using the ultra dynamic sky that you can get on the Unreal Marketplace. So when it came to doing the dynamic day night cycle, it was pretty easy to implement with that. But it's just adding the weather. I've never thought it would be such a pain. And this isn't even the toughest part of it. It's still raining indoors, so I've found a solution, but I haven't implemented it yet, or had a go at implementing it yet. It doesn't use physics, the implementation, for culling the rain indoors. It uses a scene capture component attached to the player that generates a texture that's then used to know where to kill the rain. So I haven't even looked at that, but it's going to require material functions and all kinds of craziness. So I just kind of wanted to kind of ease myself back into working on this weather system, because I haven't touched it in about a week. So I said well maybe I'll do the audio, thinking that was going to be simple, but yeah. So what I have one cue at the moment that I'm just kind of manipulating, but if I can get this to work, then I'll probably do have an audio cue for each separate type of weather. I had considered maybe just biting the bullet and maybe purchasing some weather off the marketplace, but even that I'd rather just save, if it was a case of saving time, just buy the particle systems, but kind of get behind it and drive it myself with my own blueprints. There are solutions out there on the web, but they all seem to require C++, and my Code Ninja is on holidays at the moment, and then moving into a new house, so I've got to leave him alone and let him focus on what he's doing. So what I think may be going wrong is the interp speed. I think maybe 0.01. 0.01. Just up it slightly, and then I'm going to go into the timeline. So this delta weather timeline feeds straight into the finterp for delta time there. So inside here it's 6 seconds in length. First key is at 0, second key is at 0.01. Now that seemed to work for changing the different weather conditions, but it doesn't seem to want to work for the audio, so I may increase the length to double it to 12. Put this key position at 12. So that's 0.01 over 12 seconds. One thing I did just today, and it looks like an absolute mess, but it was well worth doing. So this is my random integer for my 4 types of weather, and it sets my current weather. But in my branch here I have a function is package for distribution, so if it's false and I'm testing it, it goes down to check if current weather is equal to the same as the random weather. And if that's true, it'll just cycle through the process again, so that in the actual package game, if you have fair weather, it can randomly pick to have fair weather again. It's inclusive, but if you're dev mode, you don't want to always have fair weather. You want it to change so that you can see the effects. So it's exclusive, so it'll exclude the previous result. That's a bit of a hack. It's a bit of a mess to look at, but it does the job for now. I'll tidy it up. I'll come up with a nicer way of doing it. But if you do know someone who's pretty good at C++, I suggest buying them a beer and asking them nicely would they code this for you, because it would be a lot simpler. If you knew C++, I'd imagine it would be simpler than trying to do it this way. So okay, we just have to wait for that random float value between 30 and 60. I'd really like to get some of this done so I can get back to doing more. Okay, so fog. You should still hear rain. We'd like to get back to doing some environment art and stuff. Just for a change of pace. Okay, by right it should be playing rain now, but I'm going to wait for another cycle. The next change in weather. Okay, yeah, bang, there it comes in. Didn't obey our lerp at all. Just started playing. That's a shame. But there's no errors popping up, unlike before, when it was just errors galore. So I'm gonna delete the delta time coming out, the track coming out of the timeline, and try and tweak it with just these values alone. So our target is 1. We want to get to 1 over 12 seconds, let's say, at steps of 0.01. 0.01. So set them up right this time. So rain target of 0.5 over 12 seconds, steps of, yeah, target 1, 12 seconds, yeah, 0, target, yeah, that's completely wrong. Yeah, so maybe this works. It took me a long time before to kind of get the to get this to work, but it should work. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now and I'm gonna play again. Let's see. Let's see if it works. I'm just gonna kind of do stuff to put pressure on the system to see if I can break it.
Yeah.
Really gotta do some work with the control system. No, it just goes straight into it. So it's a case of let's have a look at maybe one or two of the other interp functions and see if there's any that might ease. Function linear alpha, no, that's it's one of those things as well, this lerp, that it seems everyone has everyone has their own take on the interp function, how to kind of implement it with audio. 2D, no. Float, f-interp, ease in, ease out. I don't think it's going to work. Don't think it's going to work, but we'll try it. I'm just going to leave the other one there because I'm lazy. That shouldn't be 12. Exponent should be like 0.01. Something small, very small. So that's the wrong one. 12 over. That should do something. Well, it kinda is. Like I have audio in separate places. But for specifically for the weather system, I wanted to have like a weather audio kind of. That's why I called it like the ambient jukebox. I wanted to be kind of like it controls all the audio, so that when the weather machine changes state, it after it gets its integer for the current type of weather, that it calls the jukebox run and event here. And I thought that that was kind of the nicest way to do it, because I was having so much trouble with the audio inside the other blueprint, inside the weather machine itself, when I was calling all the audio in there, that it was just a nightmare. And the weather machine, even though it doesn't have many components, the blueprint itself is already so complex and kind of sprawling that I figured I'd try and simplify and get that into its own system. So, like, I have an audio component inside this one, but that could be a rain component, and I could have another for like lightning, and I could just kind of keep it a small bit neater. Like I still have to come back and comment all this and kind of do it nice and tidy, because it's just so messy right now. It's all in an effort to keep the amount of event ticks down. If it works, it should be good. But it's just, if I can keep using like the one custom timer by event here, so that I'm not using event tick, it should be fine. So just for the sake of making things a bit easier while I'm testing, so this is the length of time it waits before it changes the next weather state. So I have a condition: if package for build is true, then it goes from 300 seconds or 600 seconds, somewhere in there. So if it's not, and we're just playing an editor or developing, then 30 to 40 seconds. Now the reason why I can't really bring it under 30 to 40 seconds, which would be nice to, is because all these changes in weather pattern are all controlled by these little timelines. And it'll just mess up my my kind of change from one system over to the other one. Yeah, I mean, I had a look online at how other people, even specifically, were dealing with audio in kind of dynamic weather and things like that. And what I found is that, well, the first thing I found was with a Google search through the forums is there was a lot of people just flat out disagreeing with each other on how to do it. And I was kind of like stuck up until really today on how I was going to do it. And I'm sure there's like a more better way than, you know, passing all these you know, doing all this casting and having like a ton of different integers flying around the place. But like, I have an integer that's stored here that comes from the game instance. I'm sure there's a more efficient and kind of prettier way to do it, but it's the only way that's been working so far for me. I haven't even tested it yet to see how much overhead there is, but I'm just trying to keep in mind that I don't want to tick anything, because I'm going for a kind of an open world game, so I can't really use tick at all. Yeah, no, it's kind of one of those things I've been building on. Like, I'll work on different aspects of the project. You know, if I get browned off with the weather, I'll go work on the day-night cycle, and if I get browned off with that, maybe I'll spend some time on getting the like the ocean part of the project a bit more, you know, save some resources there and try and do it a bit more efficient. But it's just one of those things. So I'm just gonna hit this up here. I'm just going to save it, just in case. Check that out. I do have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel and dev diaries and things like that kind of cover the early days of the project when things were a bit more up in the air. So we'll just see now. I can't actually see chat right now because my my blueprint editor is on that screen. I need a third monitor. I actually have a third monitor, but it's hooked up to the server beside me, so... Okay, so the fog... You know, there's a lerp sitting behind this fog that's coming in now. And it works pretty good. But why isn't it working with audio? Okay, so we've rain. It should be lerping into rain now. Oh, cheers to the follow. So it's actually doing nothing now. I'm not getting any change in audio. It worked better with the old, just simple lerp, like, instead of these E's or F interp. Give it a chance, it might actually kick in on the second go. Which in itself might tell us something. Okay, so it's firing off there again, back to fair weather. Okay. Damn you. Yeah, I've seen that before with the event ticks. What you were saying there, it can be done that way, but the good thing about I'll show you something I did in my, where is it? To see, should be in somewhere. System. That's actually not used. Actually, I know a way to find it. World settings or world outliner. And weather machine. So what I need to find is my day-night cycle. Okay, so this is part of the oh, it's in the first person character, that's where it is. It's not in the widget for the menu, it's in the actual character, so okay. I actually never renamed this, I just kept it called first person character. So yeah, is it? Oh, here it is. So okay, so with tick, there's only one small problem. Even if you're feeding off into another blueprint, tick is, oh, I can't remember how many times a second, or how many times a frame even it happens. But you can see this offset of 0.2. But when you use a set timer by event, it's more efficient because you can see this return value links up to clear and invalidate timers. So when we're not using the timer, we can kill it, we can destroy it. Whereas if we're gathering stuff off tick, even if it's delayed with intervals, we're still always doing it. So when, for example, so I'll show you how that actually works for me with this project. Is if I'll just full screen it, so it should be about 9 o'clock in the morning or so. Here's my, so let's say we want to go to midnight. So I'm using the set timer by event there to basically see once it's midnight, and once it's midnight I then slow time back down again. But once I reach that time, the set timer by event is destroyed. If I was using event tick, it would be persistent and on all the time. So it'd be a lot more demanding, and I wouldn't be able to save as much. So like there, the set timer by event kicks in, and then at the end it clears and invalidates the timer. So it kind of saves you a lot of processing power there, or resources at least. It's not as big a hit on the CPU, because tick, anything to do with tick is always going to, like, you can move a lot of your graphics and particles and kind of heavy stuff out, but tick is where all the CPU tends to get chowed down on. So if you can keep as much as possible out of tick, it's the way to go. Dropping some frames there. Cool, little Surly. Thanks for the follow. I'm going to take a break in a short while anyways and get some food. Because I'm not going to be able to fix this if I'm hungry. I'll only break it more. Yeah, I'll try and get what I might do is, after this, even if I can't get the audio to work properly, I'll cut a build of the game and I'll be back online later on playtesting. So guys, I'm gonna go maybe do some RTFM on sound cues and audio cues in Unreal. But I'd like to thank Commander Root and Little Sarah Lee for tuning into the stream. Hope I was able to help you out a bit. I'll be uploading this to YouTube later on. I'll try and cut out some of the breaks. Sorry there was so many breaks today, I just was in major need of caffeine. But hopefully the next time I'm on, I'll have done a bit more homework on audio cues and how to control levels and things like that. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.